Hello, this is just a short video which is, which I'm going to have some reflections about something that perplexes me. It mainly relates to, I suppose, people who term themselves Satanists and Diabolists. It might relate to some other groups as well, and to some other kinds of polytheists, possibly, I don't know. But I mainly see this amongst people who call themselves Satanists, so please forgive me if this isn't something you're interested in, but it's just something which I find really, really silly, actually. And that is the attitude towards the Abrahamic monotheisms, which I find terribly, terribly naive on the part of a lot of modern Satanists. Before I go any further, I'm just going to say, as far as, say, people who are just anti-Semitic are concerned, along with the people who are just neo-Nazis or what have you, actual neo-Nazis, not just the people who somebody disagrees with and decides is a Nazi, but actual neo-Nazis. If you've got a problem with Jewish people as Jewish people, then you're an idiot, and I'm not even going to think about that. And as far as I can see, Judaism, it is what it is. You can like it or not, but they basically don't interfere with other people. They don't try to convert other people, etc., etc. They pretty much want to just live their own lives. So according to my principles, they're fine to do that. It's like I got no objection, and it's none of my business, but with people, a lot of people call themselves, Satanists nowadays. They do have this thing about Christianity, though, and they have this thing about, they really hate Christianity. They'll be, insulting Christianity. They'll be insulting Christians. They'll be insulting sort of like, X, Y, Z. I mean, publicly, I don't care what people do privately, but they'll be doing this, making a big show of this. Yeah. And yet, when it comes to Islam, which is probably, certainly, at present time and for some time, has actually been the most violent, the most destructive, the most hateful form of monotheism on the planet. Yeah. When it comes to Islam, they are quiet as kittens, honestly. Not a peep from them about Islam, which is kind of funny. And what I really wanted to say was, well, aside from just having a little bit of aside from having just a little bit of a catharsis or something, throwing mud at something that upsets you or what have you, what do these people think they're actually asking for? They make as if they want to tear down Christianity, tear down this, tear down that, yeah. And I'm just saying, well, hold on a second, yeah, because the culture that we live in the West, which it has largely been liberal, democratic. Well, actually, it's not so democratic in the UK now. It's certainly not so liberal in the UK. I would say it's going in some quite worrying directions. But the situation that we've grown up in with our cultures, these are the products of Christian culture and Christian history. The secularism, the humanism, the liberalism, all of these things which we like and which give us the chance to actually be occultists, be pagans, practice as diabolists, what have you. These have all come about within what are Christian societies. Yeah. Obviously, there are elements with those societies which have been inherited also from the pagan past. I think we have to remember that. This is not simply a Christian society, but Christianity has been the carrier of all these things, ultimately, to us. Yeah, that's been the direct line of transmission of through culture. And culture has different layers to it, and some of it you're not going to put with any particular religion. They're human or what have you, but we have all of this thing coming to us, and it's come to us through Christian culture. Even the capacity to reject Christianity, because that's that's what you can do. Can't do that in Islam, by the way. No, you get killed. Yeah, but all of this has come to us through Christian culture. It's the basis of what we live through in many ways. Yeah, as I said, not the sole basis, but in very many ways it is the basis. So if you tear that down, what do you think is going to happen? If you could actually tear that down, what do you think you're going to have? Is it just going to be a vacuum that you're going to dance about in? Well, the trouble with vacuums is that they get filled. They never stay empty. And it's not going to be us that fill it. It's going to be something more dominant, more aggressive, and more powerful. And that could be a number of things. Amongst other things, it could be Islam, which is growing. And believe me, Islam is not like Christianity in that respect. Islam has not produced secular humanism, has not produced liberal politics. It's produced none of those things. So be careful what you wish for. Because, yeah, could be Islam, could be a number of materialist philosophies, which are no fans of freedom either. So have a think about what you're wishing for. Yeah? Because all the things that we think of, the things that many things that I love, they've arisen within Christian culture. They've arisen as in a very heretical forms, and in forms which may not have been approved of, but they were tolerated. In whatever respect, a lot of things were tolerated, and we were able to live them because of that. We've been living through the managed decline of that, and for a long period it's been relatively okay. But we might be getting to the end of that phase, and if we are getting to the end of that phase, it would be extremely naive to imagine that we will simply emerge into a kind of post-Christian pandemonium, because that's not how things generally work. In general, what happens is that a new order is reinforced, and it's enforced in a very dominant and aggressive fashion by those who have the power to do that. I find it really bizarre that Satanists can be so naive, but so they seem to be. So anyway, that's my ramblings, really. I just think people should be careful what they wish for and think about what they wish for, because things can get an awful lot worse. They really can. And you have to be aware of where the things we valued actually came from. Of course, they come out of complex relationships and from complex causes and roots, multiple roots. It's not all just one thing. However, if it's working reasonably well for you to be able to have the freedom to practice your religions and your spirituality, that's a really good thing, yeah? Because believe me, for a lot of history, in a lot of circumstances, it's not that way at all. So just think about it, and I think it's a good idea to try and study. It's a good idea to try and study things about history, study things about cultures, how things arose, and where they may have come from. Because, like I said, it is a complex story, so the cartoon caper's response to historical circumstances that seems to be the favorite of of modern Satanists is very, very silly, and maybe it's a waste of my time me making this video, really, because honestly, most Satanists wouldn't listen to it, and most people who aren't Satanists aren't going to be interested. I can't blame them, honestly. But I guess in a broader sense, it's worth thinking about where our culture has come from, where it's going, and what happens if this culture actually collapses. What's going to take its place? So that's a broader question, and it's one which is, I think, worth asking ourselves, because the consequences are serious. Okay, bye bye.